Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Now it is time to introduce our main speaker for tonight. Dawn, would you please come forward?
Don Morgan, alcoholic. Ready for the interview. What a group. I want to welcome the newcomers and happy birthday to the birthday people. And thank you so much for your share. A lot of hope in that. A lot of hope in that. Hear a lot of people say when they get up here that they got their life back when they came to AA, and I never had a life before I came to AA. It was such a mess. And this is the real deal. I've been sober for 43 years. Norm Alpe used to say, get that in right away because we may have a pension plan someday and we want you to, get counted for all your time. So, my whole family is AA. I've got 43 years. My wife's got 27, coming up on 28. Her mom's got 37 years. Our dog's got 13. We got a son that, my wife has a son, my stepson, that's 40 years old. He's been around AA ever since he was about 12 with his, between his grandmother and his mom. And he's thinking about coming back. He did 12 and a half years in the penitentiary because of drugs and alcohol and guns. And I have no clue what it takes to make this deal. No clue. I sit and listen to guys that have done everything under the sun that you can't even imagine, that you wonder how they can even have the guts to share with you what they've done, and they get this life, and for some reason like that, sometimes we go out. I did. I couldn't have had it any better, and I went out. I just don't know what goes on in our minds. And I guess that's the ism. I'm just grateful to God that I found here, that I just keep doing the deal. I've heard some stuff lately. A guy was at a meeting that my wife and I go to on Wednesday several weeks ago, and he said something that I've quoted and I remember. He said that 95% of the people in Alcoholics Anonymous are willing to watch 5% of the people do all the work. And my sponsor that I had for 28 years that changed my life said, Don, there's 10% givers and 90% takers outside these doors. And when you come into Alcoholics Anonymous, it doesn't change. There's 90% takers and 10% givers. What are you going to do? And I lied to him and said, I'll be the 10%er. And the longer I'm around, the more I know, the more we have to do to stay here. It's not hard. I'm pretty active in Alcoholics Anonymous. I go on panels and I sponsor a lot of guys. It's impossible to sit at my house between my wife's babies and my babies and watch a television program of a half hour. Thank God for TiVo. You know, I said, roll it back. I forgot what, you know, and it's amazing. But I'm really grateful for the activity that I got around here and the guys that I sponsor. And my buddy came with me again tonight. He's heard me speak about 1,000 times. You are permitted to go to sleep tonight. Not right now. Wait till I'm done talking about you. Anyway, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. When I was a kid, I had learning disabilities, still have them, can't spell anything. Thought I had an excuse not to do inventories or read the book or do any of that. I can read, but I cannot spell. Don't know what that's about, don't care anymore. I had trouble in school. I couldn't get it. It scared me to death. I didn't know that I was frightened until I did an inventory. I didn't know that was what all that acting out was. What it really was, it was to get kicked out of that class so I didn't need to do what you all were doing. School scared me to death. I used to wait for that friggin' bus and it could have been a prison bus and I'd have been more happy. You know, it just take you to school, dump you out in one of those yards and get in there, and I just couldn't do the work. So right away I started rebelling. I think my first drug was can you all hear the fan? It probably only goes to her, but anyway, it's nice. No, it was fun. I wouldn't have known what to say right then anyway. When I was a kid, my dad and mom were divorced when I was about 2 years old. And those are things that I hear a lot of people say that made them drink. That did not make me drink. My sister lived a much worse life than myself, my half-sister. Her dad was killed by a drunk driver when he was drunk driving. He hit someone and got out to see what damage he did, and another drunk driver, unrelated, hit him and knocked him, I don't know how far, and killed my sister's dad. And she's not an alcoholic. And she lived without a father, and you know, everything that I went through, she went through in ACEs and not an alcoholic. So I certainly don't know what it takes to get, I mean, I know what it takes to get here, but I don't know what it takes to make an alcoholic. I don't know whether we're born with it. All my family's alcoholic. And I don't know if it's passed on, but my sister missed it. I got another half-sister that does not have a drinking problem. She eats her way to whatever. She's huge, huge. And it's sad. It's sad. She's so tickled that she's not an alcoholic. I'm not an alcoholic. You know, she's just cramming that food in, but she doesn't drink, you know. So I know that I'm addicted to everything that comes down the pike. If it feels good, looks good, smells good, makes me high, makes me drunk, makes me fall down. I heard a guy the other night that I kind of identified with. He said, a lot of my story is hearsay, because I blacked out a lot, you know, so I'm hoping that I'm being real accurate tonight. But when my dad got laid off at Disney when I was 9 years old, the war was going on, World War II, not civil, and we lived in a 14-foot camping trailer in a little trailer park down at the beach called, it was called something or other trailer bowl. Anyway, it was a real shithole place. And we lived in these little camping trailers, and you know, it was pretty awful. And I loved it because I thought we were camping year round, you know, and 14 foot. It didn't, I don't think it's from here to the wall, and it was teardrop, so you had to get shorter at each end, and little two burner stove, no water, no toilet, no, you know, you had to, a lot of people went quite a ways to go pee. I just went out the door, but something smells here. Anyway, what I started out with, my first kind of drug was cigarette butts. They had a common room where they cooked and threw cigarette butts on the floor and played cards. And I used to get a handful of those and sit up on the cliffs overlooking Highway 1 down at the beach, and I'd throw these dirt clods. They had these gnarly looking, I'd break these things off and throw them at cars, puffing on a cigarette, 9 years old. Bang, and they'd explode, and they'd get out, and they'd go, "You little fucker, and I'd come on up." No one knew how to get up there, you know, and I'd give them the finger, and, you know. So I'm 9 years old, and I'm behaving like that. And that was just the start. Anyway, by the time I'm about 13, my mom used to marry several people, not all at once, but bring different guys home, you know. She brought this one asshole home. His name was Ed Ton, T-O-N. He was 6'6" and weighed 265 pounds. I'm this big, he's this big, and he don't like me. And I don't like him, but didn't seem to matter. Mom never asked for my permission. But anyway, Ed had a bunch of guns. And by the time I was 13, I had made up my mind. My mom kept saying, you got to go to school. You'll never get a job. I said, who the fuck wants a job, you know? I used to live in the movies. I'd go to a movies, you know, and I'd see gangsters and cowboys. I thought those assholes never had to go to school, you know. So I used to tell my mom, I'm going to figure out something where you don't need to go to school. Don't worry about it, you know. So Ed had these guns, and he had a bunch of them, you know, and I used to get these guns out, and I'd go. My mom had this full-length mirror, and I just looked so bitchin'. And I'd pull a trigger, you know, there were no bullets in it. And that got boring, so I decided it would be fun to put one bullet in it, you know, do the Russian roulette thing. I'd get that rush. That was better than cigarette butts. I did it 3 or 4 times before it went off. I was such a bad shot. The mirror was full length. I missed the whole fucking mirror and shot a hole in the little border of wood around it. And it blew the whole back of the closet off, you know. And it was but I started running away. I was always getting my butt kicked because I always had a big mouth. That's one thing you'll learn about me tonight is I'm a really tough guy. Not all of me, but my mouth is really tough. I was getting the heck beat out of me a lot, so I started carrying one of Ed's guns around like this. Honey, pay attention. You see me? You know what I'm doing? They're talking and she just looked up and said, I'm doing this. That's supposed to be a gun. We'll fill you in a minute. Anyway, I never put any bullets in it because I was afraid I'd shoot my dick off, so I always put the bullets up here. And that takes something, a little something away from being a tough guy, you know, hang on, I'll be with you in a minute, you know. Anytime anyone told me to do anything, I'd run away. And I started taking one of them guns with me. And I got caught over in Pasadena with a gun, you know, and it's a long story, but the judge said, if we ever catch you here with a gun again, we're going to send you up. And I had visions of The Rock and San Quentin and romantic places to me then. You know, I always wanted to be on death row without actually being there, you know. I just wanted to have the handle, you know. Yeah, I've been on death row. You're 13. Yeah, I know. It's a tough time. Anyway, I run away again. Now, I could have gone to a lot of other towns, but I go right back to Pasadena where they told me not to come, you know. And I'm talking to a guy, and he knows I have this gun, and he says, "Where are you staying tonight?" And I said, "I haven't got a place." And he said, "Well, come on, I'll take you over to the YMCA, and you can stay there." And so he did, and he told him, "This kid's got a gun." So they came up to the room. They gave me a bed, and the cops came, and I had taken the gun out of the front and put it in the back, and they grabbed me, and they were shaking me down, and they didn't feel the gun. So they take me into the Pasadena police station, and they said, "What's your name?" And I like the way gangsters talk, you know, in movies and shit. You know, I'd say, "I ain't got one." The cop said, I said, "What's your name?" And I said, "I ain't got one." And I thought that was so neat, you know. And the guy took one of those saps out they used to carry. They used to ask you questions and then help you with answers. You know, they don't do that as much anymore. But he slammed it right between my hand. He didn't actually hit it, but the wind was real fierce. And I said, "My name's Don Morgan. I live in Burbank, California." You know, just sort of slipped out. Anyway, they said, "Okay, Don, we know your name now. Where's that gun?" And I thought, oh, I might as well give it up. And I went like that, and they fell on the floor, you know, thinking I was going to shoot them. And that was the biggest high I've ever had to this date. I wanted to live that one again, but lucky I didn't get shot. But they did send me up, but not to where I thought I was going. I went to Pacific Lodge Home for Boys. And I just hated that home for boys part, you know. I wanted it to be shackles and, you know, guards and barbed wire and shit, you know. Anybody could run away from that place. I did, and I never went back. And when I was on the run, I ended up in Tijuana, Mexico. I ran up and down the coast. I was out for a long time. My poor mother didn't know whether I was dead or alive, what was going on. And it was still war, World War II. And when I went down to San Diego, I heard about Tijuana, and you could just walk across the border. All the sailors were going down there, and I walked across the border, and I was hungry, and some kids fed me, and I slept on the ground one night, and the next day I get up, and these kids are telling me, if you bring these sailors to these girls, you get $1 a sailor. There's white hats everywhere. So I know I'm going to be a thousandaire in a heartbeat, you know. So I bring one sailor to one of the girls, and I get my $1, and I'm thinking, this is heaven. And I got $1, and about 2 minutes later, a cop's got me by the nape of the neck, and they throw me in jail. And I was there for 8 days, and they never even asked me my name. It isn't quite like here, you know, or at least in those days. And they used to tell me that you're never going to get out of here, or you're going to be in a farm down there. And I was scared to death. And you'd have thought that it would have changed my path. But that scared straight crap that you hear about doesn't work. It works while you're there, but the minute you get out, you know, I was the same guy. But I was there 8 days. They would take us to the men's prison in the daytime. One night I spent the night there. And it was quite an experience. But finally got back home after a while. Never had to go back to Pacific Lodge Home for Boys. I decided my gangster stuff isn't working out. My pimping career, $1, 8 days in jail. That's not very good. So I decided I'm going to be a cowboy. Now, I was born in Hollywood, California, and I know there's quite a few lookalikes there, but not a whole lot of reallys. And I met some guys that rode in rodeos, and I'm 16 years old, and I get me a cowboy hat. I got a belt buckle you could cook a turkey on. I got me a pair of nice looking cowboy boots, and I'm a cowboy. And I started riding in professional rodeos. And I say I rode in them. I got down on things, and once in a while they'd open the gates. Sometimes both of us would come out, or one of us, you know. But I loved the handle. I was a cowboy, and I had a fake ID. It said I was 26 years old, and I was 16, or 28 actually. And it said that I had blue eyes, and they're brown, and it said I weighed 160 pounds, and I weighed 127. And I used to go into bars with that, and nothing matched, and they didn't care in those days. They'd say, you got an ID? And I'd throw it down, they'd give me. They told me about a bar in Burbank called the Hitchin' Post. They said, don't ever go in there, Don, you'll get your ass kicked. I just couldn't wait to get in there, you know, and I'm sitting there. Well, I just thought numbers, eventually I'd win one. Never happened. Well, there was the one, but she wasn't very tough. But anyway, I'm sitting there, and I'm having a beer and a shot, Boilermakers. And I'm getting more John Wayne by the minute, you know, and this guy next to me grabs my hat, those big 3X Beaver, beautiful hat, and I put it back on, and I said, don't do that, man. And he did it again, and I said, don't mess with my lid, and he grabbed it again, you know. And the third time I walked around, I pushed my hat back. I'm pretty bombed by now, and I said, I thought this was so cool. I said, hey, partner, that's how you talk if you're a cowboy. I said, hey, partner, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy you a drink, and I'm going to take you out back and kick your ass. And he said, you got a deal. And I said, oh, shit. I didn't think he was going to answer that quick, you know. And he drank his drink way too fast, and we started to go outside, and I thought, he looks tough. I better get a strategy going here. So I made up my mind that I'd get through the door first, and I'd knock him clean back into the bar. And I did. I got to just at the door, I turned, and I hit him with everything, all 127 pounds, right in the face. Pissed him off. We got out there, and we're boxing, and he's boxing. I'm just hitting the air. I don't think I ever felt flesh the whole thing. But he's banging me here and banging me here. My eyes are closing, and, you know, I'm just getting the hell beat up. So I'm thinking, I better take a dive. So I went down, and, you know, you always got a friend that you met that night, you know, and I met this guy called Tubby, and he picked me up, and he said, you got him now. He's getting tired, and he kept throwing me back in, you know. Finally, he got tired, and, you know, I was laying down on the ground over there. And that was just another evening for me, you know, and it just went on and on and on that way. And after a while, I decided cowboying wasn't it, and I became a professional race car driver. No great demand for drunken race car drivers. And but I did get married. I got married when I was 20 to a girl that was 27, and I didn't realize that if you married them older, they bitched at you all the time about getting jobs and not quit drinking. And I don't know, she was very cranky. And I did everything for her. I immediately sold her new car and bought an old race car, and she didn't appreciate that. And I went to work one day. I finally got a legitimate job in a film lab. And I went to this film lab every day, and I hated it, a dark room, print and film. And I went to this gas station, and I got $1 worth of gas. And the guy said, hey, you know anybody who wants to buy this gas station? I'm getting $1 worth of gas. I said, how much you want for it? He said, I don't need any money. What I need is a guy that'll give me $100 a week for running it. And the shelves are all full of, you know, everything, there's oil, gas. Just come in and take it over. Give me $100 a week. I said, what time you want me here tomorrow? And he said, you want it? And I said, yeah. So I went in and told him to shove the job. And he said, you're supposed to give 2 weeks? I said, not me. I bought a gas station tonight. You did what? Yeah, I said, on the way to work, I bought a gas station. So You guys can go fuck yourself. I'm gonna, you know. I've always made sure that I burned every bridge, you know, in case I ever want to go back. So I show up the next day. I don't even know how to change a tire. And I walk into my gas station. I said, what do I do? And the guy showed me how to turn the lights on, how to pump the gas, what to do, where to call. It was a lease option, a lease place. And he said, here's the guy when you need gas. And he showed me that, you know, I said, okay. So the first day I'm there, or the second day, I had cards made up. It said, Don Morgan, truck and car specialist. Because I knew the difference between a truck and a car, so I was a specialist. So people would come in and the car would be steaming or something wrong with it, and they'd say, Don, what do you think's wrong with this thing? I didn't have an idea. I'd raise the hood and I'd go, looks to me like you need spark plugs. I sold more spark plugs there than anything else. I sold everyone spark plug. If your radiator was boiling over, you got new spark plugs. Or I'd call my buddies in, you know, and we drank and got drunk and sold everything off the walls and never gave the guy $100 ever. And he's always coming around. I said, well, I had a bad week. You know, and next door there was a liquor store. He opened a half hour after me, and that was the longest half hour. But anyway, we just drank and had a good time for several weeks. And here's where Alcoholics Anonymous started to come into my life. A guy came in one night and he plunked a six-pack down, and he said, help yourself. So we were drinking, and he didn't take one, and he left. I didn't even know his name. He came back a couple nights later, set his six-pack down. I'm drinking, and he says, Don, did you ever think about doing something about your drinking? I thought, shit, I am doing something about my drinking, you know. And he said, would you like to go to an AA meeting? And I said, I don't even remember if I knew what it was. And I said, sure. Why I said sure, I don't know. I had no intention of not drinking. But I went to the meeting. It was the old Radford Clubhouse. And I liked, everybody was having a good time. I didn't have anything against it. I thought, boy, if I ever get in any trouble, I'm going to come back. Now, I haven't even told you about trouble. I was in trouble every day of my life. But I thought, yeah, if I ever have any trouble, I'll come back. So that marriage ended. I had a son. Then I got married to my drinking partner. We drank and used drugs for 7 years and just nonstop loaded all the time. Then I married, and she was 6 months older than me. I went from 7 years to 6 months, and she was the same as the other cranky one, always telling me what I should do, you know, go to work and do this. So I thought the answer to my problem is get a younger girl. So I was 34 years old, and I married a girl that was 19. And I thought, I'll just teach her the shit she needs to know, and everything will be all right. I was wrong. She was crankier than all of them, because she had more energy, I guess. We're married 6 weeks, and I got arrested for drunk driving. And I was gone all night, and she's calling my mother, where's Don? And my mom's saying, he does this all the time. No, you know, he's probably in jail. So I called the next morning, and she's just giving me, you know, and I was working on a personal best. I had 6 weeks. I hadn't been in any trouble, hadn't been arrested, hadn't been fired. Nothing happened bad, and she's already ragging on me. So I thought, I know how to shut her up. I'll tell her I'm going to AA. So I told her I was going to go to AA. And she said, oh, okay. So I come home, and a week goes by, and she said, so when are you going to AA? And I said, well, I'll tell you one thing that I learned when I was in AA one day. I'll tell you what I learned is you don't bug people. We'll know when it's time to go. I'll know. Another week went by, and she said, you know this, I'll know when it's time to go to AA? You don't know, and I do, and it's tonight, and it's at the church we got married at, and I'm going with you. I thought, oh shit, oh joy. I'm taking the warden with me, you know. And I went to AA that night, and I loved it. And I bought me a book, 50 cents down, 50 cents a week till I paid it off. And I never opened it, so it was really a collector's item inside. It got kind of funky on the outside, but I carried it everywhere. People would say, boy, that guy's sure got a program, you know. And I talked bullshit out of both sides of my neck, and people just, you know, except those that really knew, thought I was really working a program. And I got laid off my job, and I got drunk. Just like that, just got drunk. Never worked any steps, never did anything, never read the book, never had a sponsor. And little Miss Youngster got real pissed off at me for getting drunk. I said, it's only one night, it's like a vacation. I'll be back in AA tomorrow, you know. So I went back to AA, and then I got a chance of a lifetime for a job. I got a job at doing what I do today. I'm a cinematographer. Now, I don't know how to spell it, but I am one. This guy did aerial photography for movies, Tyler Camera Systems, and he gave me an opportunity to work with him. And he did the shot of Barbra Streisand on the back of the boat singing, you know, the tugboat years ago, and did all these action, great job. And with my background as a successful rodeo cowboy, race car driver, and all that, it fit right in that excitement, you know. So I worked for him for several weeks for nothing. And he sent me on my first job to show a New York cameraman how to work the mount and do all that. And he gave me $100, and he gave me a first-class ticket to Philadelphia. And he said, you just show this guy how to, you know, work the mount, and you're on your way. And I said, you sure I'm ready? Yeah, you're ready. I got on the airplane, and I'd never been anywhere first class in my life. And certainly never had anyone call me Mr. Morgan, and the girl with the little cart and the drinks says, Mr. Morgan, would you like a drink? And I didn't want to hurt her feelings. She was so kind. And I said, yeah, give me 2 of those little ones over rocks, you know, scotch. And in 10 minutes, I'm going, hey, babe, hit us again. You know, I don't think you do that first class airplane thing. And I got drunker than a skunk, and I had the $100, and we land, and I go down to the bar, and I get drunker, and I go upstairs, and I had this chicken shit little tie on, and I start throwing up, and it's hanging in the toilet, and I wake up with it on my, you know, I'm a mess, and I forgot to call my wife, and I look at the clock, and it's an hour past when I'm supposed to go to work, and I know that I've blown it. But guys like me blow every opportunity that ever came my way. There was nothing good that ever happened that I didn't figure out how to screw it up. And I just thought, no big deal, kind of like this job, but the phone rings, and it's the guy, and he said, Don, we're sorry we didn't pick you up, but it's raining today, and we'll have to do the shot tomorrow. Now, I thought that was good luck at that time. I kind of think it was God looking after me. So we did the shot, and I go to the next 5 minutes. I go to the next deal, and I got drunk again. Didn't learn the lesson. And I thought, if I get away with this, I'm walking to the plane, first-class ticket home. If I don't get fired from this, I'm never going to drink again. And I didn't. And I've been sober since November 5th, 1966. Now, did I do what you guys do? No, I was around here a long time, and I didn't do the inventory. And I got real busy sponsoring guys, and I was going up to Impact, and I'm picking up drug addicts, and I'm feeding them, and I'm busy, and I'm making money hand over fist. I became one of the top aerial guys in town. And then I became a cinematographer. I did lighting, and I'm, you know, just living a good life and not working a step. And I thought, I got to where I felt empty. I didn't feel what you do around here when you do the deal. And I went to a meeting, and I heard Frank Defrey talk, and I asked him if I could come to his house and tell him, you know, I wanted to talk to him. And he said, sure. And I went there, and he said, what do you want to do, Don? And I said, I want to learn the 11th step. I'm having trouble meditating. I didn't do the other 10, but, you know, I wanted to get right into the meditating. And I'd been sober 8 years. And he said, did you do an inventory? Why would he ask that? I've been sober 8 years, and he only had 6. He ought to be asking me to sponsor him. And I said, well, and he said, no, fuck, well, did you or didn't you? And I thought, God damn, he's cranky. He said, do you want me to be your sponsor? And again, I lied to him and I said, yes, 'cause I was afraid of him. And he told me, he said, you get busy and do a goddamn inventory like the rest of us. And I did one on tape, because I'm in the movie business. Don Morgan for sobriety. Play it back. I did 5 hours of tapes, and I brought them over to him, and he said, what the hell is this? I said, it's my inventory. He listened to 1 minute, and he said, shut that off. And I shut it off. He said, the fuck is that? I said, it's my inventory. He said, it sounds like an episode of As the World Turns. I can't listen to that shit. I said, you only listen 1 minute. We got, 5 hours. He said, well, don't drink till we're done. And every week I'd go down there, and I was afraid to leave the tapes there because someone might hear them. I couldn't get him to listen to them. One time I did leave him, and I called him, and he said, don't come this week. And I said, why? What are you doing? He said, I got a bunch of guys over here. I said, what are you doing? He said, we're listening to your tapes. When he got done listening, he said, now go write one. I said, I can't spell. I don't give a shit whether you can spell. Go do a goddamn inventory. I'm not going to judge your spelling. And I went and I did one like he told me to do right out of the book. And I read it to him, and he got up and he welcomed me to Alcoholics Anonymous. And he said, you know what you just did? Yeah, I did my fourth. No, he said, what you did is you just got introduced to you. You just know who you are now. Now do the rest of the steps. And by the way, how many guys did you say you sponsored? I said 15. He said, I want you to cut them loose while they still got a chance. I cut all of them loose but one guy, and he said, fuck him, I'm hanging with you. I like this Don Morgan let's do nothing program, Let's do step 0 again, Don. I got divorced from that little gal. God bless her. We had 4 kids, and they're all doing really well. My son that was in the first marriage got to copy the blueprint that I gave him. He was a drug addict and alcoholic. He went to prison. He did all the shit Dad did. He's now sober through Alcoholics Anonymous, and now he's religious. He doesn't go to AA, but he's very religious. He owns his own airplane. He's a successful contractor up in Northern California because of us, because of this, because of Alcoholics Anonymous. I became a pretty successful cameraman. I took my now wife, she was my girlfriend then, and I got nominated for an Emmy. And I went to the Emmys, and I knew I wouldn't win because, bums like me don't get it. And when they got to my category, they go, and the winner is Donald Morgan. And I'm sitting there, and she goes, you won. And I know I'm going to get up, and they go, not you, we meant him. And I get up there, and they give me this Emmy. And, I try to thank whoever I could remember. And my wife and I went back to the police station. And it was in Pasadena, by the way. Oh, by the way, my stepdad used to tell me to always hold my hand like this because I'd always have a pick and shovel in them. The fucking Emmy fit right there. I even thought to myself, fuck you, and we sat there and we both cried about, how do you get from there to here? And it's Alcoholics Anonymous. I've won 5 Emmys. I've been nominated 9 times, blah, 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 blah. I've done some pretty fair-sized films. I'm a pretty good cinematographer. But you know what? I wait at home when I get one of those awards. I'm waiting for every one of you guys to call and tell me how neat I am. The phone rings its ass off, not one of you to congratulate me. But say, hey, Don, I want to read my 10th step. And hey, listen, man, I'm expecting some phone calls today. Can we do it tomorrow? I never got one phone call in 9 nominations, 5 wins. But take a guy through the steps. take a guy through the steps. I got one guy that calls me every day for 27 years. Even when I'm on location, he figures out when he can call me. This guy calls me every day, no matter where he's at. John Laughlin. Give John a big hand. He needs it. This is the real deal. I love Alcoholics Anonymous. I love it. My stepson's still out there trying to figure it out. He called yesterday. He got a chance to go to a convention for a horror convention because he was in John Carpenter's, who I worked for too, by the way. But he went on a horror convention because he was Adrienne Barbeau's son in the original Fog, and he worked in Halloween 2 and did some stuff. And he's down there signing autograph, but he jumps on the freeway and crashes his car on the way to the airport yesterday. It's all over the freeway. I take him down to get on the plane, and he's saying, you know, Dad, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna straighten my act out. You know, we hear this over and over and over, and it's just so simple to give up. This is the only place in town you can give up and be a winner, you know? Man, I remember as a kid, I wouldn't give up no matter how they were beating my head into the ground. We used to have red tags on Levi's. It was a sport in my day to rip the tag off, and if you had your tag off your Levi's, you were a punk. And I'd fight till I had nothing left, and wouldn't give up. But boy, to work this program, this is where all the tough guys are now, tough ladies and gals right here, doing the deal. God bless each and every one of you. I hope you find what I found. Thanks.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control is connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.